Hi class, this is chapter 9. We actually jump from chapter 6 to chapter 9 for quiz number 4. We'll come back later and get the information for chapter 7 and 8 when we do quiz 5. Chapter 9 is on jazz dance, musical theater, and tap dance. So much like chapter 6, quiz 3 was on modern dance, and chapter 5, quiz 2 was on ballet, quiz 4 is on chapter 9, these specific styles of dance. Page 125 starts with jazz dance, goes through the 3 early developmental periods of jazz dance into page 126, those being minstrel shows, then vaudeville, and the Harlem Renaissance, and talks about some of the different elements that came out of that and what was important about each one of those time periods. So make sure you take the time to go through that. When we talk then after that about jazz today, we're really kind of going from the point that it encompasses many different things. There's a great rubric of jazz styles of dances today, and you'll want to go ahead and look through those at the bottom of page 128 and see the different types of rubrics. Also some of the different elements of jazz and what it means to different people on page 128. Page 130 starts musical theater. It's the second of the 3 styles in this chapter. All 3 are given equal press. Realize musical theater is not necessarily a style of dance as much as a platform for styles of dance, many of those being jazz or rubrics of jazz and tap dance, which is why these 3 so comfortably live together in this chapter. So it'll talk to you about some of the first musicals, the early musicals of the Harlem Renaissance period. Also the development of the mid-century musical and the integrated musical. Very important to understand that with the ballet and modern dance choreographers that validated musical theater dancing in the mid-century, it really came of age. And so talking about Agnes DeMille in Oklahoma and what she did is going to be a very important part of that. Some of the other jazz, modern dance, tap, and ballet choreographers and their importance to musical theater is also covered on those pages through page 132. Also on page 132 and going through page 135 is tap dance. And tap dance has a development in its own right, including its own definition. So out of this chapter, you should be getting a specific definition of jazz and a specific definition of tap that you should be able to formulate for the quiz and the final exam. Many of the mid-century personalities and the different styles of tap dance are addressed in these pages, and that culminates on page 135, where on 135 you also get a table, 9.1, of the characteristics of jazz, musical theater, and tap dance. Much like we did in the other 2 chapters for quizzes 2 and 3 before this, really think of that as a comparison and contrasting timeline element of each of those 3 styles of dance. Then what you have is the literal timeline outline of jazz, musical theater, and tap dance on pages 136 and 137. And again, what I do, and actually that starts on 135, is take 5 different styles of dance that developed during this period of time. And we talk about the first musical, we talk about the Lindy and Jitterbug, which will also be covered in social dance later in chapter 10. We talk about Agnes DeMille with her importance of Oklahoma, Jerome Robbins with West Side Story, and The Lion King with Garth Fagan as really examples of musicals and where they are today. Your discussion questions are on page 138. Don't forget that that's an assignment number 9 in itself, which is due alongside quiz number 4. So make sure you do that. And then, of course, we have the major figures in jazz, musical theater, and tap, starting on page 139 and going through page 146. So take some time to study those figures and reinforce what you've already read about those people earlier in the chapter.